I'm pretty sure you guys have heard by now, but in case you haven't heard, the Texans have released running back Deonte Foreman. Well, waived is the proper term, but Foreman will no longer be on the team. And that's a little bit upsetting, man, because you guys know, I've been saying it all off season. I was back on the Foreman hype train, but I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little worried about Foreman. If you watched my video on Friday that I dropped this past Friday, I said I was worried about Deonte Foreman because of what Bill O'Brien had said in an interview. And what Bill O'Brien said in that interview was the backup running back spot was open. And, when I first heard that seemed shocking to me. I had heard that, prior to that interview, Foreman had a terrible day, especially in pass protection. So I was like, okay, maybe I'm reading too much into it. Maybe it's just O'Brien kind of being pissed about the day Foreman had. Okay. But then yesterday, I believe it was, Foreman had another bad day in camp. So, like I've been saying the whole offseason, it's one thing to look healthy and good in shirts and shorts. It's another thing to do so when the pads actually come on. Now, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't upset at this move. I'm upset at this move because I wanted Foreman to be the Texans franchise running back, and that was the plan when we drafted him. We drafted him alongside Deshaun Watson so Foreman could be Watson's running back, for the early part of Watson's career, because we all know Watson's going to play 42 years. But, now that plan is kind of out the window. Foreman got waived, and I'm pretty sure Foreman is going to get picked up by another team. Now, is this a bad move? I don't know yet. I can't really say this is a bad move. I can't say it's a good move. But it's a move that makes me upset. And that's what I could say about it. Now, the reason why I can't say if it's a bad move or good move is because you guys got to remember, Foreman's coming off that Achilles injury, and Achilles injuries, like I've been saying all offseason, they're considered career-ending for running backs. So, I don't know if Foreman would have been able to come back. I don't know if it's Foreman's Achilles injury that's keeping him from doing good. I don't know if Foreman is just lazy and his work ethic isn't good, because I've seen that thrown around all over Twitter by all these reporters. So, I don't really know what the issue is. But what I do know is Foreman was talented enough in college to get picked up by another team. And then, depending how Foreman does on that other team is what will ultimately determine if this was a bad move by the Texans or a good move. Now, where do the Texans go from here? Because obviously, their running back position, it doesn't look good at all. Well, there is option one, the most boring option, the worst option, and that's staying with what you got. You can't go into the season with Lamar Miller being your lead back and all these undrafted and late round picks being your backup running backs. No, that ain't going to cut it. You need some actual talented backs on your team, proven backs that damn well are going to perform. Now, I've seen some people, already trade for Melvin Gordon. It's not going to happen. The Texans will not trade for Melvin Gordon, nor should they trade for Melvin Gordon. I mean, the guy would cost a high draft pick, and then you have to turn around and give him over $10 million a year. And for me, that's going to be a huge no. Now, the next option, which I think is the best option, would be signing Ajayi, because Ajayi is still a free agent. And I'm pretty sure you guys know Ajayi. He was pretty decent with the Dolphins. He was decent with the Eagles, got injured. He's healthy again, but he's still a free agent. So he's out there for the Texans. And I think Lamar Miller and Ajayi would make a pretty good 1-2 punch. And I think it'd be a huge upgrade over last year's running back group. Because keep in mind, yes, we waived Foreman, but Foreman didn't contribute all that much to the 2018 team. Alfred Blue was the backup running back in that team because Foreman was still nursing that Achilles injury. So adding Ajayi would still be a significant upgrade over Alfred Blue. So technically the running back group would be improved. Now another option that I also see is trading for Duke Johnson from the Cleveland Browns. And I see this one being possible because earlier in the offseason, it was rumored that the Texans were involved in trade talks with the Browns for Duke Johnson, but the Browns wanted too much. But hey, the Texans now need a backup running back. Maybe the price that the Browns were asking for at the time, the Texans are okay with it because now they actually need a backup running back. Now they don't have Foreman, who they thought would have been that backup running back. And personally, what I would do, I would just go sign Ajayi and trade for Duke Johnson. Honestly, you get those two guys, your running back position goes from being arguably the worst in the league to being, top tier. You got a 1-2 punch with Ajayi, Lamar Miller, and you got that nice third down receiving back with Duke Johnson. That's what I would do, but, what can I do? I could just sit here and suggest things, but I just don't think the Texans are going to make a move. I think they're going to stick with what they have. I mean, the next thing the Texans can do is wait for cut days, preseason week 4, after preseason week 4, when teams have to cut their roster down from 90 to 53. There's a chance, a very good chance, that a very talented running back gets released. But of course, the Texans then would have to outbid other teams and convince said running back to come down to Houston. And honestly, I don't think it would be that hard for the Texans to convince the running back to come down here to Houston. I mean, all the Texans gotta do to convince them is, hey, this is our running back depth chart. I mean, Lamar Miller isn't exactly great. You have a good chance of starting here. That's all the Texans have to do to convince the running back to come down to Houston. But then, of course, the running back can also open up the depth chart and, go to the offensive line, and then they'll see, oh my God, the Texans ain't got no line. How am I supposed to run behind these guys? If I go down to Houston, I'm going to put up a terrible season, and I definitely won't get signed anywhere. So, it works both ways, I guess you could say. But, I mean, sometimes you just need a chance in the NFL. And, that can be said for Foreman and for any young running back coming in. Like, who knows, man? Maybe one of those undrafted rookies, late round picks guys can do something. I highly doubt it, but yeah, And this was just shocking to me, man. Like, after all the praise he got, all OTAs, after everything I've seen on Instagram, him working out with D-Hop, him working out hard, he gets cut, man. But like I said earlier in the video, like, those Achilles injuries, they're career-ending, career-threatening for the running backs. So we won't know if this is a good move or a bad move until Foreman is actually out there playing with another team. And if you're one of those people that are like really pissed at this move, just hold off on it a bit. Like, don't be pissed off until he actually does something like for another team, because from what I was hearing in training camp about Foreman, he wasn't doing very good. So just because you like a player doesn't mean we should keep him. For example, everybody loved Charles James a few years ago, but the guy was trash. He was a bad football player. Just because you like a player. I like Foreman. You gotta do what's best for the team, and from what I've been hearing, man, Foreman been struggling, so who knows, maybe this is what's best for the team. Like, what if Foreman can't come back from that Achilles injury? What if Foreman really does have work ethic issues? I've also seen, he needs to grow up. Maybe he does. Maybe, there's a huge awakening for Foreman, but, I got nothing against Foreman. He's a Texas guy. Want him to succeed here. But, I'll be rooting for the guy unless he goes to, like, Indy or Tennessee, New England, or, like, any team that plays the Texans. At that point, I wouldn't be rooting, for him. But, for the most part, I wish Foreman luck. Hopefully this ends up being a good wake-up call for him. And, yeah, anyways, that's all I really have for you guys for today. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.